Sexualization in today's mainstream media and the such, I've always felt weird what people definitely refer to when it comes to this term, because to me it feels very ambiguous. It feels very vague in a way, because it feels like a cosmos of possibilities is being portrayed through a single word. Yes? It is like when people call you weird. Yes? Have you ever been called weird? But it's like, yeah, sure, but weird in what way? Because I get called weird quite a often times. And it can mean numerous things. If you ask 100 people why you are weird in their opinion, we'll probably get like 20 or 30 different opinions, but nobody is going to tell you why, yes, or how you are specifically weird, yes. And psychologically, I've noticed within people, some people, not all, some people hate you, and that's why they will call you weird. Yes, it is silent hatred, a hatred they will not portray, they will not present, but they hate you nonetheless. Some people are just curious, and they will call you weird just because they somehow don't want to engage with you because they feel that you are somewhat out of their league. At the same time, they're somewhat mesmerized by you, or they have a certain genuine interest. Let's put it more like a curiosity, because interests may not sound as the brightest word, may also have negative connotations. And some people will call you weird, and they would expect you to ask why, yes, so that they can elaborate and this way hook you up in a conversation, at least for a bit of time. Yes, I've seen this in some people. Now, when it comes to sexualization, I've always found it somewhat difficult because it is a concept similar to the idea of weird. Yes. Now, social media obviously has done a good job at over sexualizing everything, but you have to comprehend one thing. A sex society will always function by blaming one side, yes, in front of the other, so that both suffer and they both lose in the end. Nowadays, you're seeing a lot of these woke agendas telling you that men objectify women. You're wrong in this one for one simple point. The mainstream media puts women in sexualized points, in different positions, makes them look extremely hot and appealing, and goes even against normal morals of society. Not because they want to objectify women, they don't care about women. The people who are in charge of the mainstream media, they want you to feel obsessed with sex because it is the easiest way to control you. Yes, women are just the object in doing that. They're not objectified in here. Yes, I have deliberately used the word object to sound as if I am contradicting myself, but I am not. What I want to tell you is that in a sick society, all humans that are there, or all individuals of that sick society, are nothing else but objects. So you cannot be objectified if everyone is an object. Yes? You can call someone an object of obsession, maybe, if they're, you know, uh, gooning, let's say, about that, or if they're, well, obsessing. Okay, gooning can be something different, but in an over sexualized society, obviously sex will keep being used just to keep you in the bondage of sex, just to keep you a slave of your own desires. Because desire means you want something that you don't have, yes? Even if it is dangerous, or especially if it is so. Even if you will never be able to have it or afford it or things like that. Yes, that is the more teasing part, right? It's like tease and denial in the sexual game. Yes, you don't need it, but your mind wants it. Yes, it's like with toys when you are a child. You don't necessarily need them. You don't have the awareness to know that you really need that toy, but you definitely crave it. Yes, and you will make a spectacle out of it. When it comes to sexualizing, I've never understood the point that people make. Because nowadays, girl equals sexualization. Yes? If you're a girl, probably you're already knowledgeable of that. I felt that in many girls. It's like they simply don't care anymore because just being a girl means you're a sex object or a sex idol or something that is supposed to be like that. Yes? Because this is the education younglings get. And it's hard to pull them out of that because sex is very appealing. Yes, I'm not saying sex is a problem. That is the point and the problem of religion or overly religious people. Because sex is something that you can do. It is your free choice to do it, but depends whether you do it consciously or not. Because based on that, you can ruin your life in multiple ways or not. That is something that religion wanted to prevent you or wanted to warn you against. That's why they called sex as forbidden. But that is the narcissistic problem. When you say something becomes forbidden, the mind will want it even more. Yes, that leads to frustrations which can be exploited. Let's not forget how much frustration have our ancestors designed towards sex. How much shaming and guilting have they done? And each generation passed it on to the next generation and it became louder, heavier, more problematic, that each future generation found it harder to go beyond. So you're wondering why now we live in a society of gooners? Well, gooning was something back in the medieval times as well. It's just that they did not have hentai, they did not have televisions and the such. But I assure you, they were equally as gooning as we are. Yes? Probably even more. Because the point is, maybe they did not have porn magazines, but they would draw something like that. Even if it looked the most horrible, in the end, porn, hentai, and all of these, they are simply irrelevant, yes? They're just pictures that depict something, and the whole meaning is in your mind, yes? You see a hot chick on those pages, maybe she's fully naked or not, but it's all in your imagination, yes? She's dominating you in your imagination or she's your submissive, whatever happens in your head, it's your pure imagination. So ultimately, when you draw a line, you are the one creating all that meaning in your head. Yes? The problem is when all of this sexualization gets generalized because you are literally bombarded with so much of it. And you have to comprehend it's not just girls that you see online, maybe even in porn movies. It's a occult assault on your mind. This is way more than just some naked actors doing the act that we all know they're doing, yes? Because, parents say it's not good to show children that. Well, technically it is not good, yes? It's not good to show children sex. But at the same time, you have to not forget that sex is something that they have deeply encrusted within their conscious minds, yes? Because we are animals and it is an instinct of us. Reproduction is an instinct. So the children already know that. It's just that they are not aware of that. And keeping them not aware of that while they evolve is good because you don't want to ruin their developing minds with gooning as early as possible. But nowadays, it's like you have to keep your child in a cage because any game that they will play most likely has gooning material nowadays. Any anime they watch more or less may have some gooning material. The television, when you look on it, it's like, it's just boobs and cleavage. Yes, it's just short skirts. It's just, the news forecast, the sports program. Everything seems more or less like that. Yes, because this is how a sick society functions. It's gonna take the least that you can be and it will enforce it so that you can be easily controlled. Because people with obsessions, they are easy to control. They are just like sheep waiting for a herder. Yes? So, in the end, it is the easiest to be told what to do. Yes, that's why a lot of people fantasize their mommies and their daddies. Not because they necessarily had mommy and daddy issues, or maybe abandonment issues. A lot of people simply have comfort issues. Yes, you don't need to have mommy, daddy, or sexual frustrations or the such. Yes, all you need is to feel horny, but be overwhelmed by this fetish for comfort. Yes, let's not call it a fetish, but a fetish means a focus. Yes, it is a term used in witchcraft. Yes, a fetish is an object that you design in order to use as a focus, as something to preserve your energy while you're doing a certain spell or you're doing something. But unfortunately, fetish has been so driven into the realm of sex, yes, as a sexual object and the such. Now, if we are to take one thing, take for example the goth fashion. I read a bit recently about it and said, alright, let's see what the heck it is. And then obviously you have hyper classifications, and I was like, meh, my head is spinning already. It's like, why do people have this fantasy for so much over classification? It's like the more convoluted things are, the more classifications are, the more convoluted the classifications are, the brawnier they feel. the more they feel that they know. It's like, broski, there's regular gods, there's traditional ones, there's this type and that other type. And it's like, broski. And then the fashion, right? The fashion trend called goth calls itself against sexualization, which obviously brings us back to this fancy word, which like feels more like trying to shame people for looking good. Yes? If a guy walks around and they're pumped up, yes, they look good, they've got the six pack, and they wear, tight clothes that literally show their curves. Obviously, they're sexualizing, yes? But with men, it's not that much of a trouble, but it's a huge trouble with women, yes? You see a girl that she's walking around the street, yes? She's wearing scantily dress, let's say, or clothes. Obviously, she's sexualizing, yes? Like, it's like a girl cannot reveal any bit of skin because she's sexualizing. Now you take another example. You see a girl, yes, that big titty girl, yes, she's walking around, she's fully dressed, she's not revealing anything. Maybe she even has a hijab, yes. Maybe she's completely dressed up that she only shows her face, or probably she doesn't even show her face at all. But she has big booba, yes, that's, let's say, the problem. She can't walk with big booba without them obviously following their, well, the jiggly physics. Obviously, some people will be cheeky enough and they'll say, oh, look at that bitch, she's sexualizing her titties. It's like, come on, cuh. You're literally, probably, most likely, gooning for virtual characters. And when you're seeing that, the jiggle physics in reality, in the beauty of the reality, not in some, virtual reality, suddenly you're all pissed off. It's like, come on, get yourself a life, right? Now then, some girls walk around and, they have a cleavage. It's like, broski, come on, they're sexualizing just because they have a cleavage. They're sexualizing just because they wear makeup. They're sexualizing just because they wear lipstick. Well, lipstick is a bit kind of sexualizing in a way, but come on, it's like lipstick might make her look like she's horny or that she's interested in a date, even if that's not necessarily her point. But people nowadays do things without knowing much what the meaning behind those things is. Yes? And then you have, let's say, the girl example, which I bumped into such examples, and they were portrayed as sexualizing. And I was like, why are people calling everything as sexualized? Right? A girl eating a banana accidentally somewhere in the park gets sexualized because, hey, that banana could have been the Gunnar's dick instead. Yes? It's like, come on, like, really? Have we gone literally this low in, down the rabbit hole? Then you get the other example that I've seen. The girl with small breasts. Yes, obviously something hideous for some people. Well, I don't mind it because, she did not choose the body she was born in. Yes? So she walks around. Most likely she doesn't need a bra because, well, when you're almost flat like the earth, as some people will say, why the heck would you need a bra? Let's say suddenly it gets chilly. Yes, it gets chilly and, her nipples might get erect. It can happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's horny. Just like a man can get an erection without necessarily being horny. Yes, it is a natural phenomenon that happens every now and then. With a girl, it can happen also, and as far as I've noticed on one or two girls that I was somewhat closer than with other girls I've met, typically they tend to have erectile nipples when it's suddenly chilly. Yes, or so it happened with those two girls. And they would run away specifically because of that. And one of them, being somewhat flatter, as she called herself, self-ironically, obviously, she wouldn't wear a bra because why would she need it? Yes. And then people could see her nipples getting a bit erect through the t-shirt that she'd wear. Obviously, she would be pointed out as some kind of witch, some kind of vampire that wishes to draw unnecessary attention through, through her body. It's like, broski, it's a human body. Your body functions in a similar way. Imagine if you accidentally had, wait, that actually can happen to men. You accidentally have an erection, someone notices it and calls you a pervert. Yes, but there is no one hot around there. Yes, it's just Regular weather, there's nothing chilly, there's nothing hot necessarily, it's just regular weather, there's nobody hot around, it can happen. Yes? So people should actually get some life because all of these cases I don't necessarily see as sexualizing. In the end, sexualizing is a way through which girls will communicate with you. Yes? If they want to test you, some girls just tease people at random. Yes? They will play with a pencil. They'll probably suck a bit on it. They'll probably bite a bit on it, just to simulate that she can be dangerous. Some people are into that, dangerous fantasies and the such. So I don't think everything necessarily should be sexualized. Yes? Because what happens outside happens outside. The big problem is when people start interpreting everything as something. Yes? Because how do you know that that person is necessarily sexualizing? Because sexualization means something is done deliberately. Yes? Whether unconsciously as compulsive behavior of, let's say, attention seeking, or consciously. Yes? And if it is consciously, in a way, I will take it because a conscious action definitely has way more resoluteness behind it. It has a certain algorithm of ideas that is being followed. Maybe the girl is trying to tease you. Maybe the girl is trying to see whether you're a good fit. Because a girl is not going to necessarily be interested in someone who instantly falls for her charms. Yes, that is a curse of a lot of hot girls. And I'm not talking about hoes, I'm talking about girls. Because a girl nowadays doesn't necessarily mean a hoe, although it is an increasing trend, but, well, nobody cares much necessarily. Well, unless, well, gooners maybe. So I've not been capable of understanding any of these. Like the first time in my life, there were girls who tried to impress me. They would try to even seduce me. And I was simply incapable of realizing that, like fully oblivious to that. They were poking at me with their hips. They were, brushing their breasts against me. They were, choking almost on a pencil. They were biting it and doing all sorts of things like that. And simply to me, it meant literally nothing. Yes. And I'm not one of those to call myself asexual or something, right? It's like I'm a normal human being. I can get horny. And I do get horny quite often because it is creative energy. And I learned how to use it as a force of creation. Slowly and surely, everyone can do that. So the point is, if I'm not interested, I'm not interested. Yes? It doesn't mean that if she's a girl, I have to be her slave. Yes? Life does not function like that. If she wants sex, it's not necessarily something. Yes? Because sex has to be something mutually agreed upon. Otherwise, well, it has a different term. So hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You're appreciated. Take care. Enjoy life. This being said, Ferenc Board signing out.